Breaking Brown family, what's going on? It's Yvette Carnell coming to you again, addressing something that I have already addressed, but I want to address it again because the conversation is getting too stupid. I don't like a lot of stupid. I especially don't like a lot of stupid in my community. So I'm coming to you one more time to address something that some of you, if you watched my last Breaking Brown, you saw I already put up a clip of about LaVar Ball and that Lonzo Ball LO2 shoe or whatever it is, right? That he's coming out with. And I addressed it on that show, but I have to address it again because somebody else, you all instigate me sometimes and you send me stuff and then I feel like I have to address it. That's what I do. So somebody sent me a clip from the Breakfast Club, and Charlamagne the God, Mr. Black Privilege himself, was talking about how everybody who's down in LaVar Ball's shoe and Lonzo Ball's shoe is a hater. And we shouldn't talk about, and we shouldn't, you just hating on this man, and he's trying to do something that's creative and do something different. It ain't something ain't never been done. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to support him, you're a hater. And so the first thing I want to say is, listen, if you grown, if you above age 25, hater don't even need to be in your vocabulary anymore. That's something kids say. Stop trying to be young by mimicking these kids. You're not a kid anymore. You're a grown man. Stop being a 40-year-old man using kid language. That's part of the reason that we have problems having conversation, because you having kid language. And I'm talking adult language. And I don't know how to talk to adult kids. I don't know how to have that conversation. That's part of the reason you don't understand that this isn't a business, because you don't talk business language. You don't talk business conversation, right? So you don't understand the problem with this shoe. Now, what I'm going to do as I go along, I'm going to talk about the shoe, and I'm going to talk about the problem with the shoe, and I'm going to try to show you how this shoe proves something that I said a long time ago. This shoe proves something that I talked about being locked out. The problem that this man is having, LaVar Ball, with this shoe proves what I've been saying a long time ago about the problems in terms of black capitalism and haters and all. So I'm going to put up the first thing. That was something else that he said about price points. Well, he said, well, you know, the shoe's expensive, but everybody overcharges for shoes. So I'm about to put up a clip that shows you all the different price points for shoes, right? It shows you all the different price points for shoes in terms of when Jordan's shoe came out, in terms of when, LeBron James shoes come out. It shows you all the different price points for shoes. And even when you adjust for inflation, and it's a Sports Center clip, even when you adjust for inflation, it shows you that LaVar Ball's shoe is too expensive. It's still astronomical in terms of price, in terms of cost. And there's a reason for that. When you talk about the production of a shoe, you're not just talking about how much it costs to make a shoe. You're talking about everything that goes in it, from marketing. You're talking about distribution. There are a lot of layers here in terms of a shoe, right? But the problem that LaVar Ball has is that he doesn't have the framework. He doesn't have all those layers. So if it costs Nike $60 or $20 or whatever it costs Nike to make a shoe, it's going to cost him $200. So then he has to come out and decide what to charge you. He has to say, well, it cost me $200, so I'm going to have to charge you $400 for the shoe, right? What that should tell you, if you're a thinking person, is that black people have been locked out. What that shows you is that black people no longer have a space which to enter these markets, because everything's already set up against us, right? He doesn't have the Chinese factory. He doesn't have the volume. He doesn't have the capital to say, you know what, I need you to put together 10,000 shoes. Nike has their own stores. He doesn't even have distribution. What that tells you is that LaVar Ball has to overcharge us because he's locked out. And what that tells you is that this is doomed to fail. I went online a few minutes ago. I went to 6pm.com. 6pm.com is selling $30 shoes, $30 Nikes and brand name shoes. And I can get free shipping on that to my house. How are you going to enter that market and compete with that? The only way you can do that is to get us all excited about black capitalism, and so that we'll buy overpriced shoes and basically give you a donation, because that's not competition. Capitalism is supposed to be about competition, right? You're not offering any kind of competition, because you're not competing with a $30 shoe. You're not even competing with Jordan's $100 shoe or the $150 shoe. That's a $400 shoe. What you basically want us doing is to come out and buy it because you're black. And that's all that black people can do. The only thing, see, listen, because we've been priced out of the market, the only thing we can do is come in the market and help white people sell stuff at a high margin with a high markup. That's the only way we can get money right now. And that's black capitalism right now. That's what you don't understand. That's why this is doomed to fail. Because listen, I've talked about this before. We're not in a point in our history where America is on the upswing. America's declining now. America is not building and growing and making businesses. That's why you see so many people in the emerging markets, because that's not what America's doing anymore. But that's what you're trying to do. You're like, well, I missed out on that period where everything was getting built up, but I'm going to come in now. But you don't have the leverage to come in now. You don't have the capital to come in here now. You don't have the framework. You don't have all the layers of distribution, and you don't have the layers of marketing. That's why LaVar Ball said, I made up my price point. It's my business. I can do what I want to do. But business is not about the product. Hear me when I say this. The problem with black business is you think in order to be a black business, all I got to do is come up with a product. You don't understand that black business is not about the product. Black business is a business in general. It's about all the layers that get you to the product. The product is the last thing. You have to have those layers. You have the distribution. You have the marketing. You have the volume. You have the factories, right? You have the marketing team that can get together and say, okay, this is how much we're going to charge for this. We've done this and we know how much the price point is supposed to be. All of that is what leads up to the product. You don't have none of that. So you don't have a business, and you've been locked out of that. And that's why black capitalism ain't working, because you're locked out of that. And that's what you need. But those people who got that stuff, they did that a long time ago. They locked that down a long time ago. And they ain't going to let you in unless government says you got to let these black people in. You got to put them in. And that's what the whole Byron Allen lawsuit was about, by saying, let me in, because they have it all. It's not about the product. The product is the end game. And they don't need you, right? So when you're a basketball player, the only thing they want you to do, hey, help me sell this product to black people. They don't need you for nothing else. So wait a minute. Hold on, LaVar Ball. You want to come into this game and Nike or Adidas or Under Armour, they're supposed to help you become their competitor. How stupid is that? They're never going to help you become their competitor. The only thing they want you to do is help them sell shoes. They got everything else. They don't need nothing else. They just want you to help them sell shoes. $500. You can't try a return. And that's why when you see 50 Cent selling overpriced vodka, when you see Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, whatever he's calling himself this week, when you see him selling overpriced vodka, that's because that's the only end they got. The only thing you can do as a black person in business is help sell overpriced stuff to black people. The white capital has everything else on lock. They don't need nothing else. So I think that's the thing that you have to understand when you're talking about these shoes. It's like it puts you in a space where you can only be an exploiter, where you can't be nothing else. You can't do nothing else. All you can do is exploit people because you don't have the layers. Those layers I talked about in terms of distribution, in terms of marketing, in terms of the factories, in terms of having everybody that you need on the ground. You don't have none of that. So it's going to take you $200 to create a shoe, right? That they can create for far less. And they can sell at their own stores. They can sell at the Nike store. Nike don't even need to get their shoes to store if they don't want to, but they can get it to the finish line everywhere. You don't have any of that. And before you came in here, you didn't realize that what you were doing wasn't business. Like black people don't understand that what you're doing is not business. At most, you're exploiting other black people and trying to get them to buy something that's overpriced out of solidarity when they can go and get a similar shoe for $30 on the internet and know it's a trusted product, so they can know, okay, I know this Nike's gonna fit. Because I've worn Nikes. Nike's tried and true, right? I've worn Adidas. I've worn PF Fly. I've worn all of these shoes, so you know I don't have to. If I order a shoe online, I don't have to wonder, is this gonna fit right? I've worn these shoes. These shoe companies have been around forever. They've got it on lock, and the only way, like this, what this LaVar Ball situation proves is that black people are locked out of business, and the only way we get business is not buying a $500 shoe. You have to have government basically come in and say, listen, we have to find a way to get black people and black entrepreneurs the layers that they need to be successful, because white people got these layers years ago. I wore Nikes as a kid. Do you know what that means in terms of how long they've been doing this? How long they've had everything, the structure in place? And you're going to come along and try to compete with that. Why? Because you have one son who's a dribbler? Dude, that's not how it works. We're not in a developing country. We're not in an emerging market. This is America. America, they got companies, got everything, been around for generations. You can't come in and compete with that with no capital and no distribution and no foundation. It doesn't work that way. And so what Charlamagne doesn't understand, he doesn't understand business. He's just talking. He thinks that this man has a product and all you need is a product. He doesn't understand that business is built on a bunch of layers. People who have all those layers I described, anything can be the product for them, because they have the mechanisms in place. That's why Kanye is going crazy. And that's why what Charlamagne said to Kanye was stupid. When he said, well, why don't you just do it for self? Why don't you just do it for self, Kanye? Well, that was dumb. You don't understand business, but you're talking like a person who understands business. And that's part of the problem. The problem is that we have people talking about business who don't understand business and don't understand how this works. So please, there's a very good takeaway in this, and I just want you all to take away the fact that that there's a teachable moment here. The teachable moment here is that we're locked out, and this situation with LaVar Ball proves that we're locked out, and that's what you got to pay attention to. And you have to ask yourself, okay, if we're right that we're locked out, what entity is big enough and powerful enough to get us in the market? And the only entity big and powerful enough to do that is government. You can't, LaVar Ball just proved, I saw online somewhere that he got like 300 transactions. Hey, people, I can sell 300 shoes. He been on ESPN doing that stuff all this time, and that's all he got. And even that can't be consistent. You don't even know if this shoe is going to fit well. You can't return it. You can't do nothing with it. This is black business, though. And this is what y'all are cheering for. What y'all are actually cheering for is for a black person to exploit black people worse than white people. Because with white people, the shoe was $125, $130. With white companies, Nike, Adidas, all these things. And he's going to charge you $500. So you're cheering for someone who's going to exploit black people worse than white people did. How does that make sense in your mind? So think about that, Breaking Brown family. And maybe we'll have some. We've already talked about it twice. I don't want to talk about it again, but I just want to drive this point home. All right. And if y'all know Charlamagne, send him this video so he can stop saying stuff that don't make sense and stop calling us haters and donkeys of the day, because we understand stuff that he obviously just doesn't understand. All right. See y'all next time.